Today we're talking about setting clear limits and expectations for team members. As an entrepreneur, if you want to grow your business, you have to be the one to set the rules. But for many entrepreneurs, this just feels somewhat uncomfortable. They say, like, why do I have to be the bad guy? Why can't we all just do the work? Now, I'm not here to simply tell you, oh, just do it, just push through. I'm here to let you in on a little secret. Your team members are actually going to thank you if you do it right. Do it wrong and it might blow up in your face. So right now I'm going to walk you through 3 things that I think not only are going to make you feel confident about doing it, but also get you a little bit excited about it. Okay, so I'm doing this in the park, which may be a little too distracting. We've got animals behind us, dogs, but we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I want to get into is a metaphor that has helped me a ton. And I used to, I think mistakenly, think of my company almost more in terms of like family or friends, because I hired a lot of my friends initially when we got started. And that ended up causing a whole bunch of chaos and just difficult things in the company. So now I don't do that. What I suggest, and it has been super helpful for me in the last year or so since we shifted, to think of your business as a sports team. Sports team. That focuses the attention where there's still an element of community, there's still an element of friendship, there's still a big level of connection and where we all have to get along, but there is a common goal and something we actually have to do together. I'm getting the biggest kick out of the people in the background here. I don't know if this is going to work long term. So I'll probably do a whole other video about that kind of like metaphor and stuff, but just kind of keep that in the back of your head for now. Okay, for this one, I want you to think of a specific sport, soccer. So in the US, we call it soccer, and the rest of the world, we call it football. Here in Spain, fútbol. So in soccer, super basic, you have kind of like 2 main things at the front end. You've got your boundaries and you've got the goalposts, right? Right here and right here. I am horrible at drawing, but let's just imagine these are our goalposts. So the goalposts, the goal is basically how you score. What are we after? What is the team trying to accomplish? We could say that's kind of like your vision. And the boundaries here, those are kind of more like your values. You know, what are the things that are going to keep us, we can play in this field, but we're not going to go outside of that. If we do things in this way, if we're dishonest, or if, you know, we're not hungry, which is one of our values in the company, then you're outside of the limits of how we want to do this. But when we think about setting rules and expectations for the team, similar to soccer, let me give 3 other things that are important in soccer. Now there's obviously more, but let's do it with 3. There's time, right? Let me try to do a little clock here. There is, 90 minutes, right? In soccer, we need to do this in 90 minutes, and there's a few things like overtime and all this stuff, but 90 minutes. Then there is also, I'm going to switch colors just so it's easier to see. There's the no hands rule. You cannot play with your hands. My fingers, no hands. So we play this with our feet. That hand is awesome. We play this with our feet, not your hands. If you touch the ball with your hands, big major issues, right? And then lastly, in this, no tackling. I can't even draw that one out, but no tackling. That's like how we interact and everything. Hope that's spelled right. No tackling. Unlike American football and the football in the rest of the world, you know, if there's too much contact with each other, it's a foul, and so that's the thing. Now with this, nobody is getting angry at, you know, the 90-minute rule, the no hands rule, and the no tackling. Sure, at different points you get frustrated when, you know, there's a bad call or things like that. But in general, those are the things that make the game what the game is all about, and they make it fun and they make it enjoyable. And if you don't follow those rules, it's unfair, it's frustrating, it's called cheating. And so these rules are super important, both the rules of the game, how do you score, how do we get ahead, what are the boundaries, and then in what time frame no hands and no tackling, those are important. So how does this come back to you putting rules for your team? I think similarly, obviously you've got, hopefully, your vision. What are we after? We want to make goals. What's your vision? And then the boundaries, your values, hopefully those are defined. But then in the day in and day out, what are the expectations? What are the other kind of rules that help make sure that we are aligned, that we are synced up in how we are going to do that? So many times there's frustrations, there's misunderstandings because these other rules aren't set up. And when there is a void, a lack of these kind of rules and expectations, there's assumptions. And because of different personalities, and especially in remote teams, all those assumptions are probably different. And that is where you are opening the door to conflict. So I want to suggest three, similar to this, three areas of rules or expectations that I think are very important for you to set with your team members. The first one, similarly here, is time. And by time, I would say in here, you need a few different things. It would be how long? How long? Is it 40 hours? Are you hiring them for 40 hours a week? Is it 50? Is it 30? What are you happy with in terms of if they're doing that kind of level of work? Then another one that you need to define, and again, no necessarily right or wrong answers here, you just need it clearly defined, is when. Can they do it whenever? Is it 8 to 5? Is it 9 to 6? Or does it not matter? Can they do it at 2 a.m.? That's what you need to define. And lastly, this one is hotly debated, and I've got some fun opinions on this for another video, but are you going to track that time? And then are you going to track it in detail? Are you just going to have them clock in and clock out? Are you going to track on individual tasks? You need to figure that out one way or other and clearly define it for your team. Second, I would say here, it doesn't really have to do with no hands, but I would say structure. You need some sort of structure or organization, and for me, this is ClickUp. And this is all about how are you tracking the work that is happening. Let's just call this, how are you tracking everything? So this is statuses, this is leaving breadcrumbs, this is all the kind of stuff that when other people come in and kind of check work or figure out what's going on, they have a sense of what is happening. This helps you stay on top of deliverables and everything. So for us, just real quick, we say if the thing isn't in ClickUp, it does not exist. Now you can use Asana, you can use Notion, you can use anything you want, but if it's not in ClickUp, it doesn't exist. So everything has to be tracked in ClickUp in our case. Now why? And this is super frustrating sometimes because we forget and there is pushback on this, but it gives great clarity to everybody's workload, to what they're doing. Do they have too much work on their plate? Do they have not enough on their plate? There's just so much that you can go into here, and it helps you as a manager get better visibility, and so it's great for you, but it also helps them begin to organize their own work and be ever more productive, which leads to them, honestly, being more fulfilled at work and a sense of accomplishment with what they're doing as they track things and go clicking things off. And lastly would be over here, again, I would call this communication. So how are we going to be communicating with each other? Now this is all about, I don't know, it can be response times. It also would be, your method or, platform. Do we do email? Do we do text? Do we only do Slack? Do we call each other? When do we do the different things we need to do? If an emergency comes up, what can you do? There's so much nuance to this. Do we do it in ClickUp over here, or do we do it in Slack? And which things do we do in what? And when do you want to be let know? It's a world of things, and you just need to sit and think about what are the guidelines for communication. So time, structure, and communication. There's probably more areas, but these three is probably where 90% of the rules and expectations we have in our company live. And I honestly say you don't need tons. You don't want tons. That is overwhelming. But it's just kind of thinking through those specific things. Okay, lastly, just a few thoughts on how to execute this, how to launch this with your team. First, you do want to try to connect all these rules back to the vision of the company. And by vision, not just the word, but what are you guys trying to do as a team, and how these individual rules and expectations help you guys achieve this faster. Honestly, if you've got A team players, they're going to be excited about most of this. Now, maybe not initially. I'm not saying everybody is just going to jump on this. But when you have A players, they want to accomplish big things. They want to be a part of something big. They want to win the World Cup, if you will. And so these things they're going to quickly see, if you tie it back to the vision and the specific goals that you are trying to accomplish, they're definitely going to see how that works, and that's going to be motivating for them. Also, I would say, and here's where some people get unsure of it, be firm. So I would say you are going to be firm, a firm voice, a firm tone in a sense, and at the same time, light-hearted. So being firm is like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. It's not even serious. It's just like a confidence that this is what we're going to do. But then you can still be light-hearted about it in general and not mean or aggressive in it. I would say be yourself in that. However you are, don't suddenly switch personalities and be Mr. Mean Boss. Just continue to be yourself in the way you pitch it and the way you talk about it, etc. Also, I think tell them how important it is for you. So tell them the importance. When I pitch this at the different points I've done this with my team over the last 10 years now in different ways, I tell them this means a lot to me. This is important to me as your leader, in many cases as your friend, because I feel like this is the best direction for us. Now, I've also said, if you disagree, if you see something I'm not seeing, let me know. This isn't the 10 Commandments. This is something that is, though we're going to move on this, I'm almost always saying bits of this are negotiable. Not the 3 things that we have to define, but the way we are even defining them. If this is hindering the team, if this is not helping us achieve what we want to achieve, let's have a conversation about it. Let's make it a little better. So, but the key here is that they understand that it is important to you. And if there is a level of trust and connection there, that's going to carry weight. The next piece is repetition. Don't think that just because you said it in one team meeting, everybody's going to do it. And don't get frustrated when they don't. I literally had team members for months and months forgetting to do things and showing up to meetings and the tasks weren't updated or they hadn't left the notes. That can be frustrating, but just repeat it. Repeat it in every team meeting and every interaction for 6 months or until it gets done. Again, and what are you repeating? You're repeating, how does this tie into our goals and vision? You're repeating it in a way that's firm. You're repeating how it's important. You're showing that this is not going away. It will take time. You are going to get a little bit of pushback, maybe more, depending on different things. But if you repeat it and if you do it in the same way, they're going to realize this is important and they are going to eventually kind of come on board. As you're doing that, celebrate the accomplishments. Celebrate when they do it. Celebrate and show, if you can, as you're doing it, show how this is accomplishing the goals and is moving us forward to what we want to do. When you do this, and when you follow these kind of guidelines or steps, here's what to expect. Nobody likes change, so you will have a little bit of pushback on the front end. But almost every time in the long term, I have seen that the team comes together. That certain processes get adjusted, get tweaked as we try to flesh them out. And yet that idea of organizing those 3 things and getting guidelines around those 3 things they get a sense of that, and they even begin participating in that and suggesting what could make it better and tweaking those processes. And as they do that more and more, there's additional buy-in. And when you begin to see how you grow as a company, how you are aligned as a team, and how you are achieving things and things are flowing, that ends up adding so much confidence to the team as a whole. And team members have come and thanked me for implementing those things. Even though the journey was somewhat hard at different points, the destination of that and the team organization is just a beautiful thing and is a ton of fun. You never fully accomplish it. You're always going to be tweaking it, but it is a fun journey as you begin doing that. Let me know in the comments any questions, any concerns on that, any additional things you want to touch base on. If you want to see what our specific rules are, I could write out some of those, and hope you come back around here to watch more content. See you in the next one.